All right, everybody's talking about this tropical wave here like it's going to be the end of the world for millions. So I'm here to set this record straight. All right, there is absolutely no reason that you should be panicking or evacuating anywhere right now because of this system. Now, that may not be the case the entire time. This may change. Today we're going to talk about a lot of possibilities, what could happen with this system, what will most likely happen with this system, and more. So if you guys are excited for this live stream, make sure to like and subscribe. It feels like just yesterday we were doing this for Barrel, and now we've got ourselves another big tropical cyclone to watch out for. The difference between Barrel and this one is I will be able to go live for Debby most likely whenever it does make landfall, if it does become tropical and makes a landfall and a live stream does become necessary, which actually does look like there's a good chance that that could happen. So we're going to talk about, once again, a lot of possibilities in this video. So let me quickly bring up stream chat here because we have got ourselves a long discussion to go through. So let me go ahead and get this stream pulled up so that I can read all your guys' chat messages. Let me know where everybody's tuning in from, because it's gonna, be one of those streams where the main thing that we're doing is answering questions that people have, because, again, lots of uncertainty about this system. Everybody on social media is hyping this way up and pushing it way out of proportions, but right now, all we need to focus on is the present, and then we can kind of also talk about what could happen in the future, okay? So right now, this is what Debby looked like whenever we saw it last, alright? Obviously, the sun's starting to set now, but you can definitely see it there. It's an impressive tropical wave, but right now it's actually just some organized thunderstorms. It's not even a tropical depression yet. But if we go ahead and take a look at what some of the models are showing here for potential tropical cyclone Debby, starting with the GFS. Alright, this is what we got right here. Yeah, that's very true, Kevin. Obviously, social media everywhere, whenever a big potential hurricane comes up, or the big potential for a hurricane comes up, everybody's freaking out about it and overhyping it. But what the GFS is saying right now is that Debby intensifies a little bit into potentially a tropical depression and makes landfall somewhere here in South Florida, and it will continue to head back into the Atlantic. Now, something to note about the GFS, excuse me, I would say this is the least reliable out of all of the models here to forecast hurricanes for. It has not had a consistent idea of what's going on, but it actually has ended up being somewhat accurate so far. That's the only reason that we're going for it off the bat. But we can see that this will continue to ride up to the East Coast and eventually does make some sort of landfall. Sorry about that. Eventually does make some sort of landfall here in the Outer Banks of North Carolina, potentially as a Cat 1, Cat 2, maybe in a low-end Cat 3 hurricane. Now remember, we are forecasting over 150 hours out, so there's no guarantee that this is what's going to happen. In fact, it's a low chance of it happening because, again, the GFS is usually not super reliable for forecasting hurricanes, but so far it's had a pretty decent track record. So right now, again, it's had an idea previously that this would kind of be a major hurricane down in the Gulf, and, even one run it was saying some spots off the, coast of Florida here, and even in the Big Bend would get 50 inches of rain. Now, again, it's such an unlikely scenario that happens, but it is a possibility, alright? I'd say it's about a 1 or 2% chance that we see somewhere get 50 inches of rain, but the GFS has said that it's a possibility, alright? So, again, the GFS, least reliable of the hurricane models, in my opinion, for the most part. But anyway, shows it slamming into the Carolinas and then riding up the East Coast as a tropical disturbance, a weak tropical disturbance at that point. So, next up, we'll go and take a look over at what the European is showing. Alright, I have it on the temperature map right now, but we'll go ahead and change things over here to the reflectivity if we can. Can we not do that? Not on Radar Omega? Huh. Well, we can look at total precipitation. That'll give us a good idea of where it thinks that the PTC Debby is going to go right here. So if we take a look at this, if we drag things out, we can see that it has kind of a steady idea here, actually, for the past several runs, that the hot spot is going to be in the Carolinas, okay? Just like the GFS, it's saying that it's going to kind of make some sort of impact here in Florida, right? And it's saying that some spots of South Florida could get, 6, maybe 7, 8 inches of rain on the west coast of Florida and some isolated spots. But it's saying that the big losers out here, if you don't like rain, or the big winners, if you're hoping for flooding rains for whatever reason, would be here off the coast of South Carolina, alright? So it's saying this area here that's gone black, that is 15 plus inches of rain. This entire thing here where it's all glitched out, this is 15 or higher inches of rain. It's saying on the coast of South Carolina, if you are hugging the coastline here, the immediate coast, you could get over a foot of rain at some spots, which is pretty concerning stuff. But remember, this is one run. done, alright? And while the European is a little bit more reliable than the GFS, it's still not something that you should take as gospel, alright? So again, make sure that you just pay attention to what all the models are saying could happen. But right now, I kind of like the idea that the European is giving, for sure. I think that it got a decent thing going here. So, if we go ahead and take a look at what the National Hurricane Center is saying right now about PTC Debby, we'll go and bring this up here on your screen. It's actually, do have a new outlook here, I believe. I don't know. Let's see here. When was this? This was, so this actually just came out, like half an hour ago. So, this is now Invest AL97, alright? The chance of formation of tropical depression strength or greater within the next 48 hours. It's only a 40% chance. We're not expecting this to become anything too significant until maybe a week or longer out, alright? But in the next 7 days, there's a high chance, a 70% chance, that we do see at least a tropical depression out of this system here. So we'll have to look out for that. And you can kind of see here, the National Hurricane Center is saying that yes, it will enter the Gulf. And again, a lot of the models are trying to say that this will go into the Gulf, slam into Florida, but it'll actually do a similar move that Hurricane Ian did a couple of years ago. It'll slam into Florida, alright? Probably South Florida, and then it'll come back into the Atlantic and slam into the Carolinas. And again, that's a possibility. Give me just a second here. I gotta give my voice a rest. If you can't tell, I'm already starting to lose it. But, anyway, how's everybody's day been? Again, let me know where everybody's watching from. Yeah, we're gonna get into all that stuff, the nitty-gritty later, Kevin. For sure. We're gonna go way too in-depth. That's for sure. So, again, that's the National Hurricane Center's outlook, alright? That's what they're saying for right now. If we take things over to tropical tidbits, alright, let's go ahead and, so we'll start off by talking actually about these sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is these are the sea surface temperature anomalies, all right, greater or below average than usual. What am I talking about? Sorry, I'm just yapping this stream so far, but the reds obviously are where the spots are at higher temperatures than usual, and the blues are lower temperature than usual. Everybody has seen this map before, especially if you live on the coast, I can guarantee you. And if you look, things are absolutely baking right now in the MDR, right? We are seeing spots, pretty consistently 2 degrees above average out here. There's a sector out here in the western Gulf of Mexico with below average temperatures, but again, we're not expecting PTC Debby to go out in that direction. Everywhere that Debby's going to be traveling, for the most part, is going to be above average temperature-wise, and considering we're already kind of at peak hurricane season, or we're getting there anyway, we're definitely going to see this rapidly intensify, right? And again, that's going to create the potential for this to make landfall wherever it does, if it does, as a Cat 2, Cat 3 hurricane. Now, again, we don't know where that's going to be yet, unfortunately, but again, there's a little bit more agreements coming in that things are going to kind of point towards Florida as a weaker system, and then maybe just skim the Carolinas as a stronger system. Again, do not panic yet, alright? Do not start evacuating. Just pay attention to the forecast over the next few days, and we'll keep you guys posted. So, anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the data here for 97L. So, let's see here. This is the model track guidance as of right now. So, what we're seeing here is a bunch of the different models and what they're thinking is going to happen with this system. So again, a lot of them do point this thing towards the eastern portion of the Gulf of Mexico, right? A lot of them say that it's going to make landfall somewhere in the Florida Panhandle, so that's definitely something to watch out for there. All right, now, again, that's not a guarantee. That's just a educated guess that we're going to see a landfall in either the Florida Panhandle or the Big Bend, according to a lot of these. So, eventually, for the most part, 150 hours out or more, this thing does make another landfall in the Carolinas once again. Now, there's something different between these 4 models here that we're going to track from now on, right? So, again, there's a great possibility that this hits the Florida Panhandle and then it's done, all right? There's a real good chance, but the other half of the models are saying not. So we're going to pay attention to these 4 models, all right? We're going to watch, or these 4 members, rather, TVCN, AVNI. We're going to take a look at the pink one here, whatever this one is, and then also the orange one. So, two of them push this out back into the Atlantic for a little bit after its Florida landfall, right? And that would allow for more intensification and potentially a stronger hurricane on its next landfall. Now, the only one, though, that says that it's going to make landfall in the Florida Panhandle and then make landfall again after being in the Atlantic for a while is AVNI. And that would be kind of a worst-case scenario. We see the Outer Banks of North Carolina there get slammed by a potential hurricane. That would be a worst-case scenario. I don't think that's the most likely scenario. A lot of the models are keeping this inland after the Florida landfall. So that's a possibility too, and that would make it a weaker system, but by the time it gets to the Atlantic again, we could see it try and re-strengthen. These models don't go further than 168 hours out, so that's something to keep in mind. Give me just a minute here. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Again, if you're not tuning in, we are discussing the possibilities for potential tropical cyclone Debby here, because there's a lot of unnecessary hype around this storm right now. There's a lot of lies being spread across social media, like always, but especially whenever hurricane season comes, there's always people that are going to overhype these systems. So we're here to give, again, accurate and honest information of what I think could happen, what a lot of the models think could happen with this system, and more. So give me just a minute here. Gotta catch my breath. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to look at is something that, again, you should take with a grain of salt. This is the intensity guidance for Invest 97L. Again, what we're calling right now potential tropical cyclone Debby. So pretty much all of the models here. In fact, actually all of the models, not just pretty much. All of the models, all the members here have this going into at least tropical storm strength. At least. Now, some of them push this a little further, all right? Some of them, in fact, most of them, are pushing this towards a high-end tropical storm or a low-end Category 1 hurricane. That's kind of generally the most likely consistent scenario right now, right? Well, we do have one odd model here, one odd member, saying that it will exceed that strength and become a high-end Category 2 hurricane. Now, 2024 hurricane season is nuts. With Hurricane Beryl, we were looking at one of these charts, and in fact, the chart for Beryl, whenever Beryl first started to develop, looked very similar to this one. And we had like one member pushing it towards major hurricane intensity, and it ended up being a Category 5. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, that you should take every hurricane scenario this year. You should take whatever the highest guess is for intensity and take that, again, with 100% confidence, because you definitely shouldn't. But I'm just saying, remember, it's 2024, anything can happen. So we don't want to just completely ignore this member here pushing this to high-end Category 2 strength, all right? We can't ignore it. Now, again, we should consider the most likely scenario right now to be that this makes Category 1 strength, I would say. Tropical storm strength, maybe even. But, again, we can't rule out Category 2, maybe even higher hurricane. But, again, right now, we need to focus on the present and the most likely scenario. We don't need to be talking about these wild scenarios where there's a less than 1% chance of them happening, really. So a lot of them, again, push it towards tropical storm, high-end tropical storm, low-end Category 1 strength here. And you can see there's a consistent idea after the Florida landfall is where this big dip is here. So they're saying after the Florida landfall, it could still be, again, low-end tropical storm strength. And again, they push it back up, considering maybe this stays back out into the Atlantic for a little bit. And then by the, what was the idea of the North Carolina landfall, a lot of the models are saying tropical storm strength. A couple of them are saying Category 1 hurricane strength. So, that's... okay. Didn't mean to do that. That's the general idea of the intensity guidance, right? But, anyway, intensity guidance seems to agree about a tropical storm, but we will see. Again, yeah, I mean, tropical storm, low in Category 1 is kind of the most likely scenario here, but remember, that was originally looking like the case with Beryl, too, or something similar to that, and Beryl way exceeded everybody's expectations. So, while we have most of our models sticking around in this zone, and you should probably trust that most consistently, because, again, there's a lot of agreeance over that, we can't completely ignore some of the models that are saying, hey, maybe it gets up to this strength, or in the future, maybe some models say it gets up to, like, this strength, so, again, there's just so much we don't know about this system yet, because we are at least 72 hours out or longer from its first potential landfall. And again, that is at the bare minimum. Alright, there's a good chance that we have to wait longer than that. What's up, Roman? But, again, we're talking about all the possibilities in this stream, no matter how unlikely they are. But remember, only take the most likely scenarios seriously here. And again, even those, you can't trust 100% because, again, we're pretty far out from this system doing its thing. But, anyway, let's see here. We'll go ahead and take a look at the long-term tracks here. Pull those up on your screen. So, this is kind of, again, the consistent agreement here that it's going to strengthen, probably into a tropical depression within the next 48 hours or so, in my opinion. Alright, that's my opinion. But we're going to see this, again, make a landfall most likely in Florida, somewhere in central Florida, maybe southern Florida, a few of the models are saying, maybe as far west as the Panhandle, or some models are going even further west than that. We have a member here saying that this is going to go all the way into southeast Texas. Now, that would be insane. It would. But it's a possibility. We can't ignore anywhere in the Gulf here seeing a potential landfall really at this point. But again, we can say that if you are east of New Orleans, there's a much more likely chance that you see a landfall than if you're west of New Orleans. And if you're east of Mobile, Pensacola, the chance gets much higher there even. So, again, a lot of them are saying that this makes a landfall at somewhere around central Florida and goes back into the Atlantic. And only a few of the members are actually saying that we see some sort of Carolinas impact here. Interestingly enough, some of them are pointing this towards New England for a second landfall, and at that point, it could be a little bit stronger of a system. In fact, this little member here is saying 970 to 980 millibar low making landfall in Connecticut. Again, take that all with a grain of salt, but that would be significant if that happened because that's a rare occurrence, a very rare occurrence. So, again, it's a possibility, but the most likely scenario right now is looking like we see a landfall in Florida, possibly a second landfall somewhere in the Carolinas, and then it heads back out to the Atlantic. So, let me go ahead and catch up on chat here. Fell asleep again. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and take a look. We'll look at... I don't want to do this, but for the sake of covering all bases, like I said, we are talking about all the possibilities today. We'll look at the GFS's rainfall totals. Again, this isn't the most likely scenario, because the GFS isn't the best for forecasting hurricanes, but this is a possibility. The GFS actually has a pretty similar view as the European did, saying that we get a significant pocket of 15 plus inches of rainfall here just off the coast of the Carolinas, and then maybe if you're hugging the coast of the Carolinas, you could see some very significant rainfall totals, maybe a foot or more in spots, maybe even close to 15 inches at times. And again, this is the GFS. Last run, it had this slamming into the Gulf as a major. So, we can't trust entirely, but again, just for the sake of covering all bases here, we're doing this. And again, you can kind of see that the GFS, again, has its target more on southern Florida for the first landfall. More specifically in the Cape Coral area, alright, off to the west of, kind of the north of the Miami area, northwest of Miami here. And we can see that the hot spot here in South Florida would actually get some pretty significant rain totals at about 9 inches. And again, that's not factoring in storm surge or anything like that because, again, we're way too far out to talk about storm surge impacts. I mean, we don't even have a tropical depression yet, guys. So, Again, we're expecting a secondary landfall here potentially in the Carolinas. After that, maybe even back up into New England. It looks like we're going to have some enhanced rainfall totals. Maybe if you're kind of out here in New Jersey or Long Island or Connecticut or Rhode Island or Massachusetts, maybe you get a few inches of rain from this system. But again, it's all hypothetical at this point. It really is. So just take that all with a grain of salt there. What is the predicted category for that potential tropical cyclone? So right now, Debescus, how do you pronounce that name? Sorry. We don't know exactly what's going to happen because the National Hurricane Center doesn't give us an idea of the peak intensity until we actually have a tropical depression. But there's a general consistency between a lot of the members and the models and everything saying it's going to be a high-end tropical storm at peak strength to a low-end Category 1 hurricane. So that's kind of what we're thinking right now. But again, anything's a possibility at this point, considering we're so far out from this actually developing, let alone, but also making landfall. You get your friend in Tampa watching your streams. Yeah, I mean, that would help. It really would. It would help the channel and also help her out because, I mean, Tampa is going to be a serious spot to watch here in this event, right? Because, again, if we do get that central Florida landfall, even if it's just a tropical depression, we could still see significant impacts in the Tampa area, so we'd watch out for that. And again, you know we're going to be here live covering this as it happens. The only reason I didn't cover Beryl live is because I was out of the state, but yeah. So, anyway. Yeah, Kevin, though, I'm not even going to talk about potential wind speeds right now, because, again, we can barely get an agreement that this is going to develop at all, so we can't really start talking about specific intricacies of wind speeds and everything like that, especially with the GFS model. So, again, now's the time of the stream where, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below. We do have Carlotta out here. Carlotta, sorry. Tropical Storm Carlotta, expected to soon become Hurricane Carlotta. You're getting nervous about it. You're in Central Florida. Again, there's no reason to panic at this point, but again, yeah, Central Florida is one of the spots we'd watch for potentially a tropical storm landfall, tropical depression landfall, something like that. We could see some significant rainfall totals, maybe some storm surge damaging winds, but again, it's pretty early to talk about all that stuff, so, you know, just take a look at the forecast. I really, really doubt there's going to be a reason to evacuate Central Florida because of this, unless we see some insane rapid intensification, like barrel-level rapid intensification. I think you're going to be fine. This definitely won't be the craziest tropical system you've ever experienced if you're in Florida. But yeah, I'm glad that we do have people watching here in the potential risk zone for Beryl. So, we do have some ongoing severe weather in eastern Kentucky, back into the Appalachia area. Seeing a line of storms here producing damaging winds. Yeah, just because Beryl intensified doesn't mean that this will do that. Again, I think everybody is pretty... we're all shaken up a little bit. Alright, we're shook up after Beryl intensified so quickly. I really doubt we're going to see another Beryl-like scenario with this. I really doubt it. Maybe we see a system gain intensity and gets a little stronger than we expected. Maybe we see a major. I think that would be worst-case scenario. There's almost a 0% chance that we do see something like Beryl where we get a Category 5... an extreme hurricane, you know. With Ian, you were good. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be nothing like Ian. Nothing at all like Ian. If you got hit by Ian, this is nothing. Nothing at all compared to Ian. Again, Ian was a high-end Category 4. We're not even sure it's going to be a Category 1. So, again, it's going to be a big relief there. It's not going to be anything like Ian, Idalia, anything that we've seen recently here in Florida. Yeah, I don't know if those are two different scenarios, though, Kevin, because they could both happen in the same universe. You know, we could see a landfall in Florida, and we could also see one in the Carolinas just after. Yeah, that happens with pretty much every tropical system that we have. Obviously, everybody blows everything way out of proportions. Um, but again, I'm not going to sit here and do that. Again, we could see a major hurricane out of this. We can't rule it out. But is it likely by any means? No, we cannot say that. Again, if we were to see a major hurricane out of this, it would be over 100 hours out from right now, so we cannot tell you exactly for sure not what it's going to do. Again, we don't even have a tropical depression out of this yet, guys. It's not even technically a tropical system yet. It's just a little tropical wave. So to start saying that this is going to be some major hurricane or a Cat 5 is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I haven't really said my opinion yet on what I think is going to happen. I've kind of agreed and disagreed with stuff, but my personal opinion, I think we're going to see something like this. I think that we're going to see that landfall in central or southern Florida potentially, and then we're going to see this maybe scrape the Carolinas and stay out towards the Atlantic after that. What's up, Mr. Storm? But again, that's kind of my idea here. I think at its potential Florida landfall, I think it'll be probably a low-end tropical storm. And then I think at the Carolinas landfall, we still have quite a bit of uncertainty, but it could be a Category 1 to Category 2 hurricane. But again, we don't even know if either of those are officially going to happen yet, guys, so it's a little too early for me to really go super in-depth with my idea here. Yeah, I mean, all it takes is one person to say, major hurricane, and people will believe it. So, again, we're trying to prevent all that. Again, we have no idea if this is even going to develop into a hurricane. So to say it's going to be a major hurricane is a huge, huge over-exaggeration. Huge. Maybe there's a 10% chance that we see a major hurricane out of this. I'd say that. But we don't even have a Category 1 hurricane out of this yet. We don't even have a tropical storm or a tropical depression yet. So we can't say that it's going to be a Category 3 or higher. And if somebody tells you that they know for a fact that this is going to be a Category 3 or higher, a landfall, they're lying. Even if somebody can tell you that they know for a fact that we're going to see a Florida landfall, they're lying. Again, it's a possibility, but we can't set anything in stone. Hurricanes are already pretty hard to forecast, but considering the fact that this is 2024 hurricane season, which has been ridiculous so far, and also this hasn't even developed yet, it makes it very, very hard to do a forecast, which is why I haven't been saying much about it. I know a lot of YouTubers have been putting out videos and live streams talking about it. The reason this is my first one for it is because even this live stream, you could have argued I shouldn't have done because we really don't know that much about it. But again, we're starting to get a little bit more understanding of the potentials that we could see here. So I decided to hop on and kind of give my thoughts on everything. Again, stop all the fear-mongering and stuff like that. Yeah, no model guidances can 100% tell us for sure what this is going to do. What's up, Matt? Again, if you're just now tuning in, we're discussing the possibilities of our tropical storm or Hurricane Debby. Potential tropical storm or Hurricane Debby. Again, right now, not even a tropical depression yet. It's just a little tropical wave. But, again, things will change. Quite possibly. Quite probably. One ensemble says Cat 5 ridiculously near Louisiana. Yeah, that's just crazy. That's insane. And again, this is nothing that people out here in Florida or the Carolinas or Georgia haven't seen before. I mean, this is not going to be the first time they're experiencing a tropical system, obviously. And again, this will definitely not be the most intense one they've ever experienced. I mean, in the past few years, we've had Idalia, Ian, Ida, you know, we've had so many landfalls we've had so many storms make landfall out here in the eastern Gulf of Mexico over the past few years. I really doubt that this is going to be anything like those. We're still a little early in the season to see what is usually the hurricane of the year. We usually have one big hurricane of the year. I don't think Beryl was it. I don't think Beryl was the peak of hurricane season. I really don't. Yeah, but again, I mean, Cat 5 is so unlikely, Matt. Just keep that in mind. Again, at this point, I'd even say that a Cat 3 or 2 or 3 is unlikely. So a Cat 5, again, we didn't think that would happen with Beryl, and it did, so we can't 100% rule it out, unfortunately. But, again, the probabilities of that are so astronomically low that it's really not even worth discussing it. Yeah. Yeah, again, I know what you mean. There's just so many possibilities. There really are. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of the models, the ensembles, people have no clue what is exactly going to happen with this. Again, we can give general ideas, we can discuss possibilities, but can we say 100% for sure that anything's going to happen right now? No, we can't. It's not like, we know that we're going to get a major hurricane out of this. We don't even know if we're going to get a hurricane out of this at all. So, again, we'll probably at least get a tropical depression. I think the only thing that we can guarantee right now is that we're going to get a tropical depression. I don't feel comfortable saying anything other than that. I will give my general thoughts, ideas, but I'm not going to say 100% anything is going to happen other than that we're going to get a tropical depression. If we don't get a tropical depression, I will be shocked. That would be the twist of the century. But again, I'm not going to sit here and discuss things definitively because we don't have anything definitive yet. Again, general track like this is a possibility. It's acceptable. There's a lot of agreements over that, and again, I think that's what's going to happen. But again, we still don't even know if it's going to, make landfall in Florida at all. We really don't. Again, I'd give it maybe a 70% chance we see a Florida landfall. But it very well could go further west, or, it could just head out into the Atlantic instead of hitting Florida. It's not like, again, this is the reason, this is the first stream I'm doing here on potential tropical cyclone Debby, is because before this point, we had no idea what was going to happen. No idea. Now we're starting to get a little bit better of a grasp of the likelihoods, the possibilities, everything like that. But, 24 hours ago, we had zero idea what was going to happen. Now we're understanding a little bit better, but still, it's quite iffy. So, again, this is a very early forecast for Debby here. Again, we can't even call it Debby yet, because we don't know if it's going to be Debby, but there's a very high likelihood of it. Potential Debby. So, anyway. By the way, if anybody got a notification for a video called Channel Trailer today, or Hi, I'm Davis Says Weather, I think is what I called it, that was meant to be a video only for people that haven't subbed. I messed up the settings so that I actually made it so that everybody got a notification for it, but I did end up fixing that. So now only people that haven't subscribed yet should be able to see that video. It's nothing special. It's just kind of explaining who I am and what I do on this channel. Sorry I didn't really have a proper severe weather coverage stream today. Things just weren't quite as active as I was expecting. I mean, it's just a typical Ohio Valley damage and wind event. Nothing super special. And I don't think that a live stream is going to be necessary tomorrow. Maybe if I'm super bored and things are a little more active than we're expecting, then I'll do a live stream tomorrow, but it's a marginal risk. Nothing special. And same thing goes for Saturday. We may see a slight risk for damaging winds on Saturday in the mid-Atlantic, but I wouldn't even guarantee that. I think it'll be above average, but not hyperactive. What are my thoughts? If you're talking about hurricane season in general, yes, I agree with that perspective. Again, whenever hurricane season first started, we thought that things were going to be hyperactive, but so far, other than the huge overperformance of Hurricane Beryl, things have been more or less average. If Beryl didn't happen, we would be well below average, but Beryl was insane. So, congrats on 1.37K, thank you. Yeah, I agree with that, Kevin. Again, the only guarantee that I'm going to make is that we see a tropical depression out of this. And again, if I'm wrong about that, then I don't know what would happen. The chance that we see at least a tropical depression is incredibly high. 90 to 100%. 95 to 100%. But again, other than that, there's nothing that we can give that much confidence in. Again, I'd say it's a 70% chance that this develops into a tropical storm. Maybe a 50% chance that we get a Cat 1 hurricane out of this, but, But yeah, if you guys have any questions, I mean, that's what this stream is for. It's to answer your guys' questions. So please, leave them down below. Again, there's still a lot of uncertainties, but I'm going to try to answer the questions as best I can. I don't want to say we don't know anything about this, because we do know some things. We know that we have an organized cluster of thunderstorms that has a likely chance to develop into a tropical depression or greater strength. We do know that there's a good chance that this heads into the Gulf. Again, it's not a guarantee, but there's a good chance. And we do know that this will impact people at least with gusty winds and heavy rain. Again, we don't know where that's going to be, but we're going to see that somewhere. And again, maybe this is a fish storm. You never know. But I think the chance that this is a fish storm is relatively unlikely. I think that it's going to impact somebody. Again, we have no idea if it's going to be, anywhere between Louisiana and North Carolina is a possibility. But somewhere in there, if we don't get an impact somewhere in there, that would be surprising. There's a 90% chance, I'd say, that we see a landfall somewhere in this area. At least one landfall. Yeah, I mean, the models are struggling. That's definitely true. By the way, new SPC outlook. You can see they're only keeping this slight risk here because this line could continue to produce some isolated damaging wind gusts. Kind of surprised they have it this far to the north. But obviously SPC knows best. Or they know better than I do anyway, so I'm not going to argue with them. I do think this active stretch of weather is over. We've had a little bit of an active period of weather across portions of the Midwest over the past week. But I think for the most part, that's going to kind of end here soon. I do think that we're going to see some more severe weather occur, though, across portions of kind of the Ohio Valley, maybe portions of the Midwest as well, going into late portions of next week, but that's still a bit uncertain. But that could be our next severe weather event, with the possibility of damaging winds obviously being there, some large hail, and maybe even a slightly higher tornado threat than we've had over the past few days, because while we've had some big severe weather events, we've only had a couple of big tornadoes. But yeah. We did have a tornado warning very early this morning in Illinois, in southeast Illinois, but it never ended up doing anything. It was the same line of storms that we have going now. It was an itty-bitty line. It went all the way from itty-bitty line to where it is now, which is pretty impressive. I'll admit that. I don't know if there's one radar site that we can look at to get a good view of this from its entire life cycle, but Louisville's kind of right in the middle of this. So we'll look at the Louisville radar to see this line's history here. So this is where it started. South central Illinois, damaging winds, tornado warning. It evolved very quickly into a monstrous band of storms here that rolled through central Kentucky and continued to move into eastern Kentucky. And really, I said monstrous band of storms. Really, it looks scarier than anything. Really, the worst that's happened is we've had some sporadic power outages. We have some tree damage, stuff like that. Just typical wind damage reports. Getting no tornado or anything like that today. At least not a confirmed one. So. But, we could see a severe warning into parts of Ohio. We kind of have a big cluster of rain more than anything else, though. And then we also have a couple of storms out here that may manage to become discrete across portions of southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. But the environment out here just isn't super prime for severe weather. But I didn't even notice this before I started saying that, but they did end up keeping the marginal risk for parts of northwest Indiana, northeast Illinois, southeast Wisconsin. So obviously the SBC has a little bit of faith in that too. We could still see a strong to severe storm in the Chicagoland area. Can't rule it out for the rest of the night. And we do have some monsoonal moisture out here, by the way, in parts of Arizona and California. But yeah, just to, briefly go over the severe threat for the rest of the night. But guys, I think we're done here. I don't think we need to discuss anything else unless people have questions. So if you do have any questions, leave those down below. This is not going to be the last time we talk about Debby. I can guarantee you that. Again, there haven't been a lot of guarantees this stream, but I guarantee you it's going to do something. Something substantial. But, 24 hours ago, I would not have said that, so our confidence is increasing a little bit in this system, but just remember, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, so don't be scared, be prepared. We'll probably have an update on this system tomorrow night, so come back, stay tuned to the channel. Thank you all for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.